every day that Bitcoin grows stronger, every day its market cap goes up, it gets more and more difficult to manipulate. And some people say that even right now, it's nearly at the point where even these huge state actors cannot manipulate the market. Really, they're just creating buying opportunities for those that are just buying. You can get a loan right now in Bitcoin. I already know that Jack Mallers, the founder of Strike, is launching a product that does this very same thing. And you're going to see a lot of banks that Bitcoiners can walk into the bank and they can have really no job, but they've got this stack of Bitcoin. Now they need money. They want to buy their Lambos. They want to buy their islands. They want to buy whatever. Don't sell the Bitcoin. Borrow against it. By the way, this is exactly what Michael Saylor is doing with a lot of his Bitcoin, borrowing against it. The rich keep getting richer because they never sell their assets. They just borrow against them. The system is broken. Inflation is robbing your wealth. Banks control your money. But what if there was a way out? Bitcoin isn't just an asset. It's a revolution. A decentralized, unstoppable financial system built for the people, by the people. This is the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, your front row seat to the future of money. No hype, no noise, just real Bitcoin insights from the industry's top voices. Bitcoin isn't the future, it's happening now. And if you're not paying attention, you're already behind. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the Bitcoin revolution. Subscribe now to the Daily Bitcoin Podcast. All right, I'm live with the Daily Bitcoin Podcast. Sorry, you know how it is with Bitcoiners. We're always trying to enter quality into our life. I was throwing some heavy stuff around. Okay, so yesterday I answered a question: how much Bitcoin should I have? Oh, by the way, Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, the doorman, welcoming everyone to the Bitcoin Network. Welcome all my Parks and Rec people. Got a exploding Parks and Rec podcast. Thank you to my Bitcoiners for helping me understand building community, creating content. That's, of course, where I started making content, and decided to do a podcast for a media company for my Parks and Rec community. All started because I wanted to create content for Bitcoin, and still am. So yesterday, I tried to answer the question, how much Bitcoin should I own? Go watch that. That was episode number 34. I posted that on just all of my social media and stuff. But now, today I want to answer the question, how the rich keep getting richer. I know a lot of times in Bitcoin land, we make a lot of assumptions about content that's already been produced. We make a lot of assumptions around understanding basic wealth building strategies, theories, time-tested stuff. And we all always assume that everyone's read Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich, Creature from Jekyll Island, and unfortunately, and the hundreds of other wealth building books and strategies, people don't have a basic understanding of how wealth is created, how wealth is preserved, how wealth is built. So when they look at Bitcoin, they're here for a number go up, and that's it. And so it's treated like any other way to make money, any other way to preserve capital, like real estate, like gold, like stocks, like bonds. And so unfortunately, Bitcoin only is valued for its ability to increase its value over time and maintain its purchasing power. How do you just keep getting richer? Sorry, I'm sweating my butt off here. But I don't want to assume that, because every time I mention this one concept, it's foreign to people. And almost every new Bitcoiner that I've helped on board, I'm like, well, yeah, you want to buy more assets over time. That's how the wealthy get wealthy. That's how the rich stay rich, is they keep buying assets and they never sell them. And unfortunately, thanks to our fine educational system, this is not taught. So anyway, I'm just going to give a spiel on it and why you might want to own Bitcoin as an asset. But Bitcoin does have a problem right now, and that is it has no cash flow. And that's the big pushback from real estate investors is like, yeah, I understand it's stronger. It's, it doesn't get attacked by Mother Nature and renters and taxing authorities. But I need that income, and I got to have that cash flow. It's what I live off of, and so I have my little stable of rent houses, and yeah, I got to run around with a paintbrush and fixing everything that breaks. But I get this monthly revenue, and that's how I support my family, right? So Bitcoin doesn't have that, so you think. So anyway, let me just give a rough outline of why you want to buy assets. So we'll start off with like how the rich keep getting richer. Let me just give you for instance. Let's just say you need $1 million, and you walk into a bank and you say, "Hey, I want you to lend me $1 million," and they're like, "Okay, Bob, what's let's have a proof of income. We're going to see what you're worth, see what your net value is worth, and make sure you're credit worthy. And what's your income? And we're going to have a debt to income ratio, which means, well, first of all, do you have any debt? And if not, let's just say you have no debt, and but you don't have a job, and they're like, well, you don't have any income, then why would we lend you money? And so here's the answer. Before they kick you out the door, you might say, "Well, I do own," or let's say you want $800,000, and I have this piece of property. Let's just say it's land, and it's worth $1 million. Got it from my grandpa, and it's like, "Oh, well, have a seat. We can give you a loan. We can give you 80% of the value of that property," and then they say they create what's called a loan to value ratio. And so if that land is worth 1 million, a lot of banks will give you 80% of the loan to value, or 75%. We'll just go with 80. It's a good round number. So they'll be like, look, if you put that land, that piece of dirt, as collateral to back the loan, in case you skip town, then with our $800,000 we're getting ready to give you, then we can always take the piece of land, sell it, get our money back. And so that's how the bank is assured that their loan is secured and saved, because it's backed by the piece of land that you walk in. And so you give them the piece of land to hold while you pay back your, you come up with some payment terms, whatever. You walk out with your $800,000. Okay. So here's your $800,000. Let's say you use that to make some payments, whatever the payment is, and come back 5 years later and you've just, or 10 years later, whatever, you've blown all the money. You've spent it all. And you walk back in and you're like, "Hey, I spent all the money, and I'd like," now this is I'm simplifying this drastically, but the concepts should be pretty sound enough for the example. Um, so why would they lend you more money? Because you've spent all the money, and well, what they do is they check the value of that piece of land, same old piece of land. Lo and behold, it's gone up in value. Now, not really gone up in value, but the dollar has been printed to oblivion over this course of 7 or 8 years that you've spent all this money. And now your piece of land is worth $2 million. And so they're like, absolutely, we'll give you another $800,000 because the loan to value ratio on that piece of land is now 1.6 million. And so they give you another 800,000. And what's backing the loan? The same piece of land. And then you go spend the 800,000, you come in, wash, rinse, and repeat, and they give you another 800,000 because now it's worth 3 million, 5, 6, 7 years in the future. And this is how the rich keep getting richer. Now imagine your burn rate is just 80,000 a year is what you need, or 100,000 a year. And let's say you walk in with a $2 or $3 million piece of land. Same math, same scenario. Well, if the land keeps doubling over time in dollar terms, in dollar value, then every time you walk back in 5, 6, 7 years to refinance your piece of property and to pull the equity or to pull the value of the loan, I'm not even sure if I'm saying all these terms right. I'm not a banker, but essentially it's how it works is you walk in, the value of the land has gone up. No, you haven't really, you don't have the money. You just want more money. And this is how wealthy people they notice they never sell the piece of land. So two things benefits the wealthy people in this scenario. Number one, um, they don't pay any taxes on the land because it's never sold. Now, if they sold the piece of land, the other option would be sell the piece of land for $1 million on day one. So that's one scenario. You want $1 million, go sell the piece of land for $1 million. You got your $1 million. You spend it all. Now you've got no money, you've got no land, and you're broke. Or you walk into a bank, they give you 800,000. Um, you spend it all. You still have the piece of land. You walk back into the bank 7, 8 years later. Let's say it doubles in value to 2 million. Now you've got a $2 million piece of land. You still owe the 800,000, but they give you another 800,000. Okay, because now 80% of 2 million is 1.6 million. So you still owe the 800,000. You make a payment. They give you the new 800,000, which is half of the 1.6 million. And you can keep doing this over and over and over again. And so this is how, I'll give you a great example. How did Elon Musk get his money to buy Twitter? Well, he used his Tesla stock to back the loan for the 44 billion. Well, not all 44 billion came from him, but other investors. But that's how he raised his portion of it. And so he never had to sell his Tesla stock. And so if you never have to sell your asset, your Tesla stock, your piece of land, then the asset keeps growing in dollar terms. I mean, the land is the same value, um, but in dollar terms, it's going up in dollar terms. And so the bank is always willing to lend you 80% of whatever the asset is worth. Let me repeat that. The bank is always willing to lend you 80%, which is going with the 80% number. Some banks offer like 70 or 75% of loan to value ratio, loan to the value of the asset. And so as long as you still own the piece of land, each time you walk into the bank, whatever that piece of land is worth, let's say you took like I said, $800,000 piece of land, goes up to whatever, 1.5 million, then you get to keep the delta. They lend you the difference between the two. And so this is the concept of the rich keep getting richer. So what does this have to do with Bitcoin? Well, right now, Bitcoin is, we know it's the best asset. It's a commodity. It's oh, what do they call that? Shoot, something without an issuer. Bitcoiners, you correct me in the comments. Um, so as a commodity, much like land, much like gold, much like other assets, um, it's a pristine asset that eventually, and this is why I say Bitcoin currently has a problem. This is going to be a huge asset that is accepted by banks soon. Banks right now are scrambling to find ways to accept Bitcoin as an asset that can back your loan. Now, if you have Bitcoin and you want to do something, let's say you want to start a business, you want to buy a piece of land, you want to buy a farm, you want to buy a beach house, most Bitcoiners that don't understand these simple principles of financing think that they have to sell the Bitcoin. But this would be a grave mistake. Remember, the rich never sell their assets. They always keep their assets. They just borrow against them. And then even if they spend all the money that was lent to them, the asset itself, the underlying asset, the asset used to secure the loan continues to go up in dollar terms. Okay, so right now you can't get a loan with Bitcoin, but actually you can. I already know that Coinbase, if you have a Coinbase account, you can get a loan right now in Bitcoin. I already know that Jack Mallers, the founder of Strike, is launching a product that does this very same thing. And you're going to see a lot of banks that Bitcoiners can walk into the bank and they can have really no job, but they've got this stack of Bitcoin. Now they need money. They want to buy their Lambos. They want to buy their islands. They want to buy whatever. Don't sell the Bitcoin. Borrow against it. By the way, this is exactly what Michael Saylor is doing with a lot of his Bitcoin, borrowing against it. Or, well, he's using some other fancy stuff, but the concept is wealthy people hang on to their assets. And If you are not in the wealthy class, if you've not been taught all this, you think that you have to sell things to get money. Okay. But you are going to be some of the most credit worthy people because of the asset that you hold in Bitcoin. Now, this is coming, and we already see glimmers of it because it's currently real time. You can do this on Coinbase. It's currently real time. You can soon be able to do this in the next couple of weeks with Strike. And so other banks are going to start offering, just like you can have stock. So I know there's investment firms that will give you a certain percentage of the value of your stocks, and they'll give you a loan against it. And so they just need to make sure that if you skip town, they have something of value that they can liquidate and sell to get their money back. But if it's a solid asset like land, like stock, like Bitcoin, they will gladly start to accept this. Now, I know this might fly in the face of a lot of Bitcoiners because you don't want to. I'm sure they're going to have to hold your Bitcoin. That means you're going to have to take it off to your cold storage. But remember, what was your other option? You were getting ready to have to sell your Bitcoin to buy whatever it is you were going to buy. So I don't agree with giving someone your Bitcoin to hold as collateral because I mean that's like a big no-no in the Bitcoin community right now. Um, because it's like hold your Bitcoin in cold storage. Don't ever because you could lose it, right? But if you were getting ready to sell it anyway, remember Bitcoin's the most liquid asset. That's why Bitcoin always leads in a down market and an up market. It's the first thing sold. It's the first thing bought. I know all the Bitcoiners, if they get a windfall of cash, they're buying Bitcoin. If they get in an emergency, they Bitcoin might be all they have. The OG Bitcoiners, they have nothing else. So if you need like a lung transplant, you're going to sell your Bitcoin. If there's an emergency, you're going to sell your Bitcoin. If that's all you have, you're not just going to die. Well, I say that some Bitcoiners will say, I'm not selling Bitcoin for any reason, but that's not everybody. Some people want to start a business. They want to buy their dream home. They want to retire. They need to start living off their stack. There is another option right now to selling your Bitcoin. You don't have to sell it. And then you enter this class of people called the rich. You keep getting richer. Why do you keep getting richer? Because in dollar terms, Bitcoin is always going to go up. It's always going to go up. Now, not in the short term. In the short term, it's volatile. But in the medium to long term, especially over a 5-year period, Bitcoin has always gone up. Okay. And so if you hold it, it's always going to be worth more in the future. Why? Because it's rare. It's fixed supply. It's 21 million. So it's not going to get diluted. It's not going to get debased. Can't say that for real estate. I know a lot of real estate says, well, they're not printing any more land, but they're always printing more houses. And you can build a house and then someone builds a subdivision around you, and now your house is no longer rare. There's houses all around you. So there's so many ways that real estate can kind of get attacked, and I really want to do a whole show just on real estate versus. I kind of did a rant on one of my episodes on real estate versus Bitcoin, but I've got a couple of friends that are big into this topic, and I want to get them on the show so that we can go back and forth on it because it really is a much deeper topic. But anyway, the one message I had for y'all tonight was just the rich keep getting richer because they never sell their assets. They just borrow against them. That's the last sentence. Okay. Bitcoiners think that you just buy and hold and you buy and hold and you buy and hold and you never sell the kind of stuff and you never use it. But at some point, you need to get cash flow. Once you are done accumulating and you stop earning income and you want to retire and your Bitcoin stack is big enough, then where are you going to get your cash flow from? Okay. Well, you can take just a piece of your Bitcoin, put it down as collateral, then you get your money. Okay. And then when you come back for more money, your whole Bitcoin stack has gone up in value. So they will lend you more money on the new price point that Bitcoin is selling for. So like today, if you walk into a bank, Bitcoin's worth $80,000, whatever it is today. And then you walk back 5 years later. Do you think it's still going to be at $80,000 in 5 years? With all the market adoption, with the nation states coming in, with Trump saying it's a treasury reserve asset, with all the holders constantly holding, It's only gone up in value because there's no more supply. So the only thing that can possibly move is the price. As demand for Bitcoin goes up, and where's the demand coming from? It's coming from treasuries, ETFs. Do you think Michael Saylor's going to stop buying? I don't think so. Do you think the hodlers are going to stop buying? Nope. Do you think nation state adoption is going to slow down? No, it's probably going to increase. Um, do you think treasuries of companies that are going to start holding this as a treasury reserve asset, you think that's slowing down or picking up? I think it's picking up. And there's evidence of that because right now there are board meetings happening all over the world of like, hey, let's hold some of our treasury in Bitcoin. This creates increased demand, increased demand. Is that going to increase the supply? No, you cannot increase the supply of Bitcoin. There is exactly 21 million. There's always going to be 21 million. And that means it's always going to go up in price. So if you use this to back a loan, you'll keep getting richer and you never sell your Bitcoin. And remember, Bitcoin is only, if you're one of these tax paying individuals, um, you have what's called a taxable event. Selling Bitcoin is a taxable event. Selling land is a taxable event. Selling Tesla stock is a taxable event. And so this is what you would pay capital gains on. You pay short-term capital gains, which is basically the same as your income tax rate. Long-term capital gains, which means if you hold an asset for over a year, I think you'll pay like 15% here in America. But if you never sell it, you never pay taxes on it. Now, you will pay somewhat of an income tax if you give in money and you spend it. Let's say you spend $100,000, you're going to pay income tax on that 80,000 on that $100,000. But you're not going to pay capital gains tax, and your asset is still within your control. So this is something that when I explain this to new Bitcoiners, it reminds me that it's not one of the reasons that they have a hard time understanding Bitcoin is because they don't understand some of these principles, which have been around long before Bitcoin. This has been around for 1,000 years. um, hang on to your assets and borrow against them. The rich have been getting richer using this method all the time, and a lot of times they use pristine trophy assets like beachfront property or Manhattan real estate or City of London real estate. And when they walk into the bank, of course, they don't have any jobs, but they have massive portfolios of assets, and this is how they get their money. And this is how this is way more tax efficient than how the middle class and the poor people get their money. And this is why their value that they keep getting richer because the value of all their asset portfolio keeps going up. So one of the issues with this strategy prior to Bitcoin is some of these assets had big barriers to entry. So if you want a nice beachfront property or Manhattan real estate, this is not cheap. So how does a middle class person or even a poor person how can they afford to buy some nice building in New York for several million dollars and then walk into the well, I don't have several million dollars to go buy this or 10, 20, $100 million to go buy this big piece of real estate and then walk into a bank with it. Um, because you couldn't really, it wasn't divisible. And this is what makes Bitcoin, oh gosh, just a miracle invention. Is not only is it pristine, a pristine asset, it is divisible. So you can get into Bitcoin for hardly nothing. I mean, $10, you can go buy $10 worth of Bitcoin, $100 worth of Bitcoin. I don't recommend buying less than $500 worth of Bitcoin because you get this, um, the fee environment can mess you up. So now that you can buy Bitcoin for just a fraction of what you could buy a piece of real estate for, you can accumulate Bitcoin over time as you can afford it. Um, so think about buying one rent house and then a second rent house and a third rent house, each one costing you $100,000 and another 100,000, another 100,000, or let's say a $20,000 down payment kind of thing, and you're financing it. But Bitcoin, you don't need that. You can literally buy $500 a month, each time accumulating $500 a month, $500 a month, and you just keep doing this. And then over time, when it comes time to borrow against it, you have a little mountain of Bitcoin. So this is something that, when I explain this to people, to me, I learned this when I was younger. I learned it from my grandma, but unfortunately, this is not taught. I'll tell you one other thing. I'll kind of leave you with this one as well. What's the difference between a commodity and a security? So a security, and this goes into defining why crypto projects are inferior compared to Bitcoin, because crypto projects, a lot of these altcoins, a lot of these meme coins, have a team of men, a team of leaders, that have this use case, and they're developing the code and they're writing all this stuff. But if they fail, or if the government decides to threaten them, or you know, there is risk that group of men could make a mistake. Now let's just say they're well intentioned, and we're talking about the most honest crypto bros, and they're never going to screw their stakeholders, and they're never going to screw people that hold it. They're not going to rug pull them at all. Let's just say that there's some angelic team of crypto developers that have this fantastic use case, and they're angels and they're never going to mess you. Let's just say that there's some organization out there that's like that. Well, they can still make a mistake, an honest mistake, and wreck the entire crypto project because they're just human, and they have human error is there. Maybe they go take a plane ride to go to some convention, plane crashes. Now your whole team, the brain trust, the leaders of this crypto project are no longer with us. What happens to that crypto project? How does it continue to go on when it has this singular point of failure that can destroy the value of the entire project? Bitcoin doesn't have this weakness. As Kathy Wood says, Bitcoin has no throat to choke. So when governments start coming after all the crypto projects, including Bitcoin, which one do you think will survive? The one that has a team that can be threatened, or the one that has no CEO, no team, no issuer? There's no one to call in to Congress to say, you better do this, Mr. Bitcoin, or we're going to throw you in jail. There's no one. There's no one to call. There's no one to hold to task. It's like calling the CEO of gold, or calling the CEO of oil, or calling the CEO of copper. It's a commodity. This is the difference between a commodity and a security. So when you look at these crypto projects and you're like, well, yeah, but this could 1000x tomorrow. But there's a big risk. Now, this is assuming, this is a massive assumption that it is an honest project with an honest utility case, and they're never going to screw people. But what you'll find as you start digging is most of the majority, like 99% of all crypto projects, are just scams and schemes. And I'm not talking about the ones that are obvious scams. I'm talking about the ones that are promising that, we have the best use case, and we've got all these all stars supporting us and that kind of stuff. They're pumping their own bag so that they can rug pull you later. And I've been around this space long enough to see it, to participated in this stuff in my early days before I knew the difference. Please learn from my mistakes. Please learn from all the Bitcoiner mistakes. I think almost every Bitcoiner I've known has shitcoined for a while, has invested in other projects, only to realize the hard way the value or the difference between a commodity and a security, the difference between centralized and decentralized. So don't fall for any of those projects. Buy the only crypto asset that is a commodity, that is truly decentralized, that has enough liquidity and is at scale that somebody can't come and manipulate this market. It's every day that Bitcoin grows stronger, every day its market cap goes up, it gets more and more difficult to manipulate. And some people say that even right now, it's nearly at the point where even these huge state actors cannot manipulate the market. Really, they're just creating buying opportunities for those that are just buying. So anyway, wanted to leave y'all with that. Tomorrow, I have a special guest. He is the founder of Start9, Matt Hill. He's coming on as my guest tomorrow. We're going to talk about Start9 as a node. Everyone should be running a node. I recommend the Start9 node just because it's you'll see. I don't want to make too many spoilers and stuff, but I mean, this is a solid team, and it actually shows you how to build your own. You don't even have to buy his stuff, but if you do want to buy a node already put together, then buy his. It'll help support their project, and they open source everything. And I know there's a big movement right now. You may have heard Jack Dorsey said that if we can get rid of intellectual property, the world would be a much brighter and better place. And Elon Musk retweeted that. And so I would love to see more of these great projects just uploaded to the general community. And that way we can all benefit from these discoveries, these efficiency gains. And anyway, Stark9 is one of these organizations that is doing just that. They're just doing brilliant work. They're hardening the entire network. It's really about owning your own infrastructure and not giving all your information and data to Google and Amazon and Facebook, but actually owning your own stuff. And so you should run your own node. Stark9 is a great one. We'll be having them as a guest tomorrow. And I think that's about all I have for y'all today. Give you a little 28-minute Bitcoin boost in the arm. So I also will have Morgan on Thursday. And then we also have our Bitcoin meetup coming up first Tuesday in May at the Bulldog. If you'd like to come meet me and the crowd in Baton Rouge, come on Tuesday or come on Thursday to New Orleans. We've got a nice group over there that meets. We're going to do this meetup, the Bitcoin Daily Show from the Bulldog. So we're going to do that every month. And if you're interested in helping us to kind of grow this network, or just, maybe build some type of little project or something, reach out to me and I'll kind of point you in the right direction of some people that are doing some really cool stuff. And then also lastly, if you have not visited one of these BitDev meetups, you should. Nashville holds one once a month. Austin holds one once a month. I think there's about 7 of them nationwide that meet up. And this is like the true brain trust of the people working on Bitcoin. And they're doing some really great work. And I know when you first go there, if you're not a coder, it's going to be over your head, but you got to start somewhere. And I think the best thing about Bitcoin, or the best thing you can do for your Bitcoin ecosystem altogether personally, is to just learn more. That your conviction only grows with your knowledge and understanding of it. Much like wealth building, if you're cut off from all the knowledge that the wealthy have used to build and preserve wealth, then you'll never get to where they are. And so much like this first lesson that I talked about today, which is, buy assets, never sell these assets, buy Bitcoin, never sell your Bitcoin. That's how the rich keep getting richer. Know the difference between a commodity and a security, and then really invest in your own head and learn about Bitcoin, learn about wealth building. And that's all I got for you today. So Craig LeBlanc, the Doorman, with the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern, as many days a week as I can. I'm striving for 5 days a week, but missed a few last week, but I'm up to 2 so far this week. So Monday, Tuesday, got one tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll see if I can do one on Friday, but love you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to play my little commercial. Y'all should be used to this by now. So this is the outro video. Let's see. Where did... There we go. Bitcoin intro. All right. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Welcome to the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, where knowledge meets financial freedom. We're here to break down the world of Bitcoin. No fluff, no hype, just real talk about how this digital asset is reshaping the future of money. Inflation is stealing your purchasing power, but what if there was a way to fight back? Enter Bitcoin, the digital currency that empowers you to take control of your wealth. Ever wondered why your money doesn't stretch as far as it used to? At the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, we educate, inform, and inspire. From expert interviews to breaking news, we bring you everything you need to stay ahead in the Bitcoin community. Market updates, expert insights, real-world use cases, and practical tips to navigate the Bitcoin economy. So whether you're a seasoned Bitcoin investor or just getting started, this is your daily dose of Bitcoin wisdom. Don't miss out. Subscribe now, hit that bell icon, and let's break free from the chains of inflation, one Bitcoin at a time. The Daily Bitcoin Podcast, your gateway to financial freedom.